Hello, everybody. Welcome. Um, I'm Tracy, obviously, and normally I would be taping Tracy Takes On, but I'm trying a new experiment. I want to take Tracy Takes On live. So this is going to be an abbreviated show version of that. And apparently we already have two people here, so let's see who's checked in. Hello, Marlon. Yes, you beat everyone. So far, it's just you, looks like. Let's see. I have my glasses on because when I'm wearing my glasses, that's my serious mode. So, Marlon says, I was here first. I beat Theus. I beat Anna. I beat Mickey. I beat everyone. Yes, you did. Like I said, I decided to do it this way instead of just taping on YouTube. So, we got Marlon in here, and it says there's someone else, and whoever that someone else is, please let me know. So before I get started, I want to invite everyone, of course, to like this, subscribe, support me on Patreon, and finally, you can visit the new website, tracymediallc.com. That's where you'll find not this video because it's live, but you'll find my recordings and things like that. So I don't want to, like I said, this isn't going to be a very long show. I'm going to kind of hit quit, and I'm probably going to take these glasses off because despite the serious look, I'm having a little difficulty with them. So I'm going to take them off. I wanted to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about first. I just had the subjects in my mind. I'm like, what do I want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? I definitely want to talk about the Brian Flores lawsuit, but I didn't want to talk about that first. I'm trying to think of what I want to talk about. The Supreme Court. No, I didn't want to talk about that. Oh, okay. Now I know what it is. Okay. So apparently the U.S. wants to start another war, this time with Russia. So Russia has surrounded the Ukraine, and they keep saying, we don't want war. But why would you not want war and you're surrounding the country? So basically, it's a lot of back and forth. And I am not a Putin fan. Let's say that first. I'm definitely not a Putin fan, and I don't know whether we're kind of jumping the gun on. Let me turn this other light on. Whether we're jumping the gun and just wanting to start a war, or what we should take. So, just pop your questions in the comment section. That's pretty much what I want to do. That is what I want to do. So if you have a question of me, it's not a ask me anything, because if I see a question I don't like, I'm not going to answer it. But just kind of put your question in the comment section, and if I like it, I'll answer it. I'm trying to think. Say I want to talk about that. I'm thinking here. I know. Some changes. And I'm eating a piece of candy because my blood sugar is a tad low. So, pardon me. I'm trying to think of what it is else I wanted to talk about. Oh! Besides Brian Flores, I promise I'm going to talk about that. But, the Supreme Court Justice search. If you don't know, Stephen Breyer, current Supreme Court Justice, is retiring. And so Biden, in one of his campaign stumps, promised that if he was elected, he would appoint an African American female. First of all, this is one of the few campaign promises that he's kept. He hasn't, all know he hasn't really kept anything. Not the $15 minimum wage. Build Back Better is dead. That's what I wanted to talk about. Build Back Better is dead. I'm definitely gonna get that. But he hasn't done a really good job of keeping any of his campaign promises. Of course, my contention is I don't think he ever wanted to keep any of his campaign promises. But hey, that's just me. So Biden has some people who he wants. And the thing is, at first, you heard oh, this is racist. You can't say that you want an African American female. That's a quota. That's blah 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 blah. That was the first criticism. But now, for some strange reason, and you still hear part of that, but for some strange reason, now you have Lindsey Graham, Marlon's favorite, and Jim Clyburn all of a sudden wanting, and I'm going to look for her name because this one I can't remember what her name is, so I'm gonna look on my phone and tell you all what her name is. You can tell I'm doing this live. I can't spell either. Supreme Court. If I could spell. Okay, because I'm going to get her name. Because this one choice he's got, I'm like, he can't be serious. So, I'll give you there's apparently two names that are supposedly the front runners. But I'm going to read all of them, hopefully. And of course, I'm getting to it. Okay, so one of them is named, and I'm going to butcher this, so Kajanti Brown Jackson, Lenorda Kruger, Sharon Hill, Candace Jackson, and J. Michelle Childs, who that's the one I want to talk about. So it looks like it's saying that J. Michelle Childs is the front runner. I hope not. J. Michelle Childs is basically Clarence Thomas, the estrogen version, as far as some of the things that I've been able to learn about her. Just not a good pick. But if Clyburn and Graham are saying this is who it should be, that's probably who's going to be picked. And I'm just like, no more anti-labor judges, but she's, from what I've researched, she's very anti-labor. For some reason, she represented companies in anti-discrimination suits, and she was representing the companies that were doing the discrimination. I'm like, okay, just not a good pick. I still don't see any questions out there. I know somebody's got to have a question for me. And I'm sorry, again, I'm eating as candy because my anti-union. Yeah, that's right, Marlon. I'm not putting this comment up because so far he's the only one posting. Other person, please post and let me know who you are so I can at least say hello. She's definitely anti-union, but what was you gonna expect? Biden to go out here and pick like a true left progressive? No. It's more or less he's wanting to check a box, and go from there. So it is what it is. I hate using that term. I hate using that term. It is what it is, but it is what it is. I mean, like what? I was going to expect him to pick Anita Hill, Judge Mabel. No, he's going to pick somebody that he knows that Manchin will approve and Sinema will approve. And and the Republicans will approve. Just a big mess. I didn't expect to be this brief, but I'm almost kind of running out of stuff to talk about. I said I was going to talk about Build Back Better being. Yeah, okay, this one I do want to. He's going to pick somebody to the right. At least if he picks somebody middle of the road, I'd be like, okay, but this, it's going to be somebody to the right. Basically, again, Clarence Thomas, the estrogen version. I don't expect that she won't get it. I'm pretty sure she will. That was the extra I was trying to think. I talk about Build Back Better. Still chewing my candy, bad habit, but again, blood sugar is low, so I gotta do something here. Joe Manchin is a piece of garbage. Let's just start that off. He went on with what's her name from Alaska? Markowski, I think that's her name. And he basically just said, you can all forget about Build Back Better. You can forget about the child tax credits being extended. You can forget about everything that was in Build Back Better because this is dead. Why is it that some Democrats, Rokana, are sitting here saying, oh yes, sure, we can negotiate with them? Are you serious? Are you really, 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 really serious? He is. You can't negotiate with someone that has basically said, "Hey, this is dead." Try to get rid of him. I don't. I have two opinions here. One, he's a shield for Joe Biden. This is exactly what Joe Biden wanted to happen to the Build Back Better deal. And he's just using Joe Manchin as okay, you take the blame and I'll look better, we'll make sure you're taken care of, but you take the blame. There's no way that I'm hearing this. And if I hear bipartisan one more time, I'm gonna scream. I'm just literally going to scream. It's just, I can't stand that word anymore. When a party tells you that they're not going to pass anything that you propose, stop saying that you want to work in a bipartisan manner. They don't, so why should you? I mean, Trump didn't. Trump took his Republicans and said, we're going to pass everything we want to pass. And it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. I'm just going to do what I do. Why the Democrats can't do the same thing? Probably because they don't want to. Still waiting on some questions here. So, and the other person still hasn't said hello. So it's Marlon and Anonymous. Anonymous, who are you? Let me know. Let me know. That's what I wanted to talk about. I thought this was going to be 30 minutes, but with the way I'm feeling, I might cut this way, way short. But like I said, I wanted to take this show live so I could start doing it again. But I may go back to the tape. I haven't made up my mind yet about which one I'm going to do because this is like right after work. I had to set up and get everything kind of laid out to see how this is going to work in terms of what it is I want to do. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to talk about. I said Bill Flores, or the Flores situation. But I talked about that on Marlon's show yesterday. I do know what I want to talk about. Okay, so I'm still chewing this candy, so sorry everybody, I'm chewing candy, but I gotta chew this so I don't just conk out. So, Brian Flores used to be the coach of the Miami Dolphins, and he got fired. Despite the fact that his team, they started out 1-7, then he rattled off 7 straight victories, but they chose to fire him. Okay, that happens. Coaches get fired all the time. So he started interviewing with other teams. So the NFL has this rule. It's called the Rooney Rule, where basically you have to interview African American candidates because there's not a lot of black coaches. There's just, I think the coach of the Steelers and now Lovie Smith, and I'm trying to think of other black coaches, but those are the only 2 I can think of right now. So you have to basically interview candidates who were African American. Well, the Denver Broncos brought him in, and he alleges that John Elway was just sauce. He was sauce. He basically got the impression that they had already made up their mind about who they were going to hire. Of course, John Elway denies this, but I'm like, well, why would Flores lie about that? He literally has no reason to lie. Just admit you were drunk. But that's neither here nor there. But that happened. Then come to find out that Flores' former owner / boss, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, had offered him $100,000 for every game that the Dolphins lost. Now you're saying, well, what do these 2 things have to do with each other? They do. And Flores was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And he walked away. Was that why he was fired? I mean, we know teams tank. Look, in my opinion, the New York Jets have been tanking for years. I mean, it doesn't matter what they do. They just are always, they're always bad. So I'm like, I think there's some organizations that you're like, why have they been so bad so long? Nah, I'm throwing out, I'm going to say allegedly. I don't have money to come out here and say, oh, it's this, and I got proof. I don't. So that's all going on. So he's decided to sue the NFL. And something that I thought was going to happen did. So the NFL hasn't publicly said, we deny this, whatever, because he's suing all 32 teams. This is a class action suit. Even though he got interviewed by the Broncos and the Giants, he's suing all 32 teams. All 32 teams are a part of this suit. So the NFL sends out a memo to all the 32 teams and basically says, hey, look, we've dropped the ball. You don't need to start interviewing more African American coaches for positions in GM positions, et cetera, et cetera. Well, lo and behold, what I thought was going to happen is happened. Lovie Smith all of a sudden now gets hired out of nowhere for the Houston Texans, another terrible team. And Lovie Smith used to be the coach for the Chicago Bears a long time ago. He went to the Super Bowl. Remember when the Colts won? Tony Dungy, who was also black, coached in that game. So it was Lovie Smith and Tony Dungy. They were the first 2 African Americans to coach in a Super Bowl. Well, Tony Dungy won, so he became the first black coach to win a Super Bowl. Lovie Smith, he coached the Bears, and he got fired 2 years after. So the Colts won the Super Bowl in 2006. So if this is 2022 and they won in 2006, that's 16 years. That's a long time to wait. And I wonder, not that I'm just getting, okay, so now we got 3 people. So Anonymous and now Anonymous and Marlon. Okay, Anonymous A and B, could y'all let me know who y'all are, please? So it doesn't drive me crazy. So I'm wondering, is this in response? Did they just hire him because he's black? I don't want to say that, but this is just too coincidental because Roger Goodell literally sent that memo days ago. And now the Houston Texans, a team that had Robbie Cornell, um, a African American coordinator. They've had him for years. I mean, he's been a coordinator with the Kansas City Chiefs. He was coach. He was coaching a few years back. I forget the team. But all of a sudden, Roger Goodell sends out this memo, and now you're hiring Lovie Smith. And I'm not saying Lovie is not qualified. He's definitely qualified. Definitely qualified. But it just looks suspect to me. And maybe I don't want to just throw out conspiracy theories like that. But I'm like, y'all let me know what y'all thinking. Because I'm like, I said that on Marlon's show last night. And I'm like, look for teams to start making a whole lot of token hires. I don't want to say I was right, but I wasn't wrong. I definitely was not wrong. And anybody want to ask me something, you can just type in a question and I'll take it for the last 9 minutes. I think the issues with, and you all know I'm a huge football fanatic. My favorite team is the San Francisco 49ers. Love football. I love NFL, college. I watch high school football. It's pretty much the only sport I watch. I don't like basketball. I don't like baseball. Soccer's not a sport. Race car driving is not a sport. Anything that you can do when you're a licensed driver, how is that a sport? No. It's just, that's not a sport. So football is always my favorite sport. Let's see. That Marlon's putting in some. That's true too. They have a losing season, which the Texans probably will because they're the Texans. He won't last long, and it'll be a box check. It'll be a box check just like for Biden. All they gotta say is, well, we hired them and they didn't work out. So why should I keep, hiring these black coaches? They never work out. Yeah, box checked for the NFL, box checked for Biden and the Supreme Court justice. Same thing, same issue. And look, some coaches who are black should be fired because they're terrible coaches. But that doesn't mean because one black coach is terrible, like all of them together are terrible. That does not mean that. And when you get this old billionaire, basically white only, because that's what the NFL is, you can't change their mindset. If they already think that black people, they're qualified to play the game. Oh, they're qualified to play the game, no doubt about it. But if they don't make that transition from playing the game to coaching, it's no wonder that people are looking at them with the side eye. And if you think about what Flores is saying, and I didn't even think about this until just now, Brian Leftwich. Now, Brian Leftwich used to play with, I want to say the Tennessee Titans or the Jacksonville Jaguars, one of those two teams. He was a quarterback. He retired, but he's now the offensive coordinator for Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl last year. So his name was being touted out as a coach. Didn't get hired anywhere. I mean, literally, Tom Brady and the coach, Bruce Arians, said, hey, we owe our win to Brian Leftwich. It was him that came up with this offense and worked with Brady to learn this new scheme that he learned apparently. He couldn't get a job. He interviewed with Denver. Couldn't get a job. So if somebody as qualified as him couldn't get it, Why do loser coaches like Josh McGowan, who has no coaching experience, how does he get a job before somebody like Brian Leftwich? They're both offensive coordinators. They both have success. Now I know Josh has got more Super Bowl rings because he has four or five, one of those two numbers when he was with New England. But you're telling me legitimately, like, what is he, a poor interviewer? Like, what is? I would love to be a fly on the wall when they were making these type of decisions, because I'm wondering, is it them being black that's not qualifying them? Because certainly you're saying that black people can play the game because that's what 70% of the league. But now you can't make the transition or the thought transition to say, well, maybe they can coach too. And something the NFL really needs to look at. Now there's only one team. I've heard they're suing all 32 teams, but there's one team that does not have an owner, and that's the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are actually owned by hundreds of people. Like literally, it's like a stock. You buy a stock and you own the team. So literally, I could buy a share in the Green Bay Packers and I'd be considered owner. Although they're included in this lawsuit, they're kind of sort of not. But when you look at this, it's just a microcosm of what America is. We are horrible when it comes to race relations. And instead of hiding it and, oh, you can't teach CRT and you got to make everybody feel good, sometimes some things don't feel good. Some things do not feel good, and they are not meant to feel good. Your ancestors did it, live up to it, deal with it. But what I was going to say in terms of the NFL is something they may want to consider, and I don't know how they would do it. They have to change leadership in terms of ownership. And I get it. It takes a lot to own an NFL team. I think the worst team in the league, which is it the Detroit Lions? No, Detroit won two. Oh, wait a minute. Well, it's either the Detroit Lions or the Jacksonville Jaguars. One of those two teams is worth $800 million. And they're terrible. So if you think about a team like the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys have the highest net worth. Like if Jerry Jones put the team up for sale, he could literally get billions of dollars. So if we're proposing black ownership, which I'm all for, I'm definitely all for it. I don't know how that would be found. Because first of all, I don't know a whole bunch of black billionaires running around trying to buy teams. If there is, would they buy a current team? Or would they try to do what I think is an even worse idea, is to expand the teams? Because you can't have a lot of teams. So you either have to expand it to 34 teams, or some black billionaire would have to find a team for sale, which I don't think any of the 32 teams are for sale. And that's different too, because if I'm saying that black ownership is the answer, which I think it is, I don't know how to find the black owners, if that's making sense, because you have to have money, because the NFL has banned the whole Green Bay model, so you can't buy stock into the team, so they banned it. So you have to have money, and I mean not just hundreds of millions, billions. You have to have billions of dollars to buy an NFL team. Could a group of, multimillionaire black people get together, form a conglomerate and say you could? But again, which team is for sale? I don't know any NFL team for sale. Even though I believe that's the answer, I don't know how we get to there. Because again, there's no team for sale. Where are you going to find the black billionaire from? And is there a guarantee that that black billionaire / conglomerate is going to turn around and hire a black coach or a black GM or a black president? there's so many questions in that, and I just think it's going to be just it's going to be difficult. But like I said, they may be better going to the expanding the league, because there has been talk about expanding into London and what's the other city? Oh my goodness, I can't think of the other city, but I know they would have to do two. So maybe that's an option. But then if you do that, then you have the other question: who's going to pay for the stadium? You're not going to have a new NFL team and they're going to play in an old stadium. That's not going to happen. So they're going to want the taxpayers to pay, to have their stadiums built. And what if it's overseas? Then you got players traveling from America to England, because that's the only place I know that the NFL is played besides here, or Mexico City. That's the other city. Mexico City. That would actually make more sense if they had an NFL team in Mexico City, because the NFL is very popular in Mexico City. Very, very, very popular. So that would make more sense than London. But let's just say those are the two teams. They're not going to play in some raggedy old stadium. Those owners, whoever they are, whether they're a group of black people or a group of, white allies, they're not going to want to play in some rundown stadium. They're going to want the newer things because they're a newer team. And that's fine. Well, it's not fine, but they're not going to pay for it. They're going to ask the taxpayers to pay for it. Maybe those two countries are open to it. That's another option. But again, it's definitely a whole lot to it that I wish I could get more into. But it's so difficult to think about, especially in the Flores case. He's never going to coach again. Not in the NFL. He may get a college job, and that's probably, I don't even know if he could get a college job at this point. Because there's some desperate school out there. There's some school that's so desperate they'll just do anything to get a coach. So probably yes, because if Gruden is being considered for a college coaching job, definitely Flores should be. I mean, let me just backtrack that, because I'll get a little angry when I get to talk about Gruden, but. I just think there's so many answers, but I know this: just keep looking for more black people to be hired. I knew it was going to happen. I thought, okay, they'll do this to kind of diminish the lawsuit. Hopefully Flores does not drop his lawsuit. I don't think this is going to go to court. I think they're going to offer him some money, and then the lawyer will tell him to take it. But I hope he doesn't. But I'm pretty sure the NFL does not want to see this go to court. So everybody, considering I started a little bit late, and I talked way more than I thought I was going to talk, and no one has any questions for me to answer, I want to thank you all for tuning in. And just a quick FYI, Thursdays with Tracy, we will not tape this Thursday. We'll tape the Thursday after, which is the 17th. So we'll be taping February the 17th. I'll try to do better about getting this broadcast, which I have not named. I have not named this. I'm going to probably keep the Tracy Takes On title and just put live behind it and go from there. But I said this was going to be a short show. I'm going to keep my word. I want to thank you all for coming on last minute notice. And remember to like this video. Please, 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 please like this video. Visit my website at tracymediallc.com, where you can find a link to subscribe by YouTube or support me on Patreon. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a fantastic evening. Bye.